Star Wars fans and casual observers alike. Welcome back to the Show. I'm Aaron, and with me, as always, is my partner in crime and fellow Force enthusiast, my cousin Landon. How's it going, man?
Good day, and welcome to another show. I think I have that shirt that you're wearing, that Mario shirt.
Yeah, Mario, and I can't remember where I got it. Coles, maybe.
I like it.
I do too.
I
It's
like
very
it.
comfortable. I like the way their t-shirts hang. They're very soft, kind of cottony, and they
They
feel
are
good.
a good purveyor of t-shirts. They are. They do well.
Coles is not a sponsor, but
If you want to
Mister
be.
Mister Mrs. Cole, if you'd like to, join us here on the Show, we wouldn't turn you down.
I mean, we would have to talk about it, but
Consult our attorneys and whatnot. But I think we could work something out.
yeah, it's promising.
I don't make any promises, but dude, how you doing? How's your week been?
Good, good, busy. A lot of back-to-back work things. And so, as always, it's a privilege to jump on the show to talk about non-work related things.
I
How about you?
concur. I concur. Yes. Also, I would say a very busy week. A lot of traveling. A lot of course, I don't travel like you do. I'm not going to Toronto or Atlanta and sneaking into speakeasies and whatnot. But
That is
my
true.
travel is just like day trips from here to there and wasting a lot of gas. It's wear and tear on the car. It's so much fun. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. It's fun to get on here and be able to talk about something a little pop culture and less work related. So before we jump into today's galactic adventure, want to remind our listeners and viewers to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. That way, you're going to be notified whenever we drop our latest content. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on our upcoming episodes. They're going to be out of this world. At least the next one
Boom.
is for sure. Speaking of which, Landon, are you ready to travel to that galaxy far, far away?
Where no man has gone. Oh, nope. Nope.
No,
Sorry.
wrong franchise. We'll get there.
We just kind of had a little discussion before we started recording here, just about if Darth Vader went up against Spock and
Yeah,
how that would go.
I don't think it would go very well for our favorite Vulcan.
No, I don't think so. I mean, then again, he's pretty smart. Vader's pretty impetuous. I'm thinking maybe he could anticipate things ahead of time. Maybe Spock could maybe have some strategy where he's not in the force bubble, where he could maybe, who knows?
And that's always the thing about and not to get too far off topic here, but the difference between Star Trek and Star Wars is a lot of times Star Trek is going to be more of a logical, you're making leaps in logical thinking, whereas Star
Political.
Wars is so much more about emotion and
It
feeling,
is. Right.
and so that may give Spock something of an advantage because Darth Vader is a very emotional being.
Very.
He is if nothing else, he is driven by his anger, his hatred, his fear.
More like a
And so
Romulan, really.
and we've seen Spock take out dozens of those guys.
Yeah. It's the same. There you
It's
go.
Unification Part 3, folks. Um all right, so let's see. Well, let's just get into it. So we're diving into the Star Wars universe. We're going to focus on what's considered canon since Disney acquired Lucasfilm back in 2012. I can't believe it's been that long already.
Yeah.
And it has been quite a ride since all that happened. Do you remember, Landon, when that announcement was made? I mean, I remember seeing you got that iconic image of George Lucas and Bob Iger. They've signed the contracts,
Right.
and behind them is that big screen with Lucasfilm and Disney, like just together. And it's,
Right.
I
Well,
mean, where
I
were
do
you when
remember it.
it's
I
like,
remember being
where were you
excited.
on 9/11 kind of thing?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't exactly remember where I was, but I can tell you that I felt like it was an exciting thing to happen. Part of it, and maybe not everybody felt this way, but we're doing pretty good with Marvel at the time, right? And so, I'm saying when did mean, so we're not even at Endgame. We are just before that. So we're really right in the thick of it.
Well, in
Uh,
2012 is when the first Avengers movie came out.
yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of promise about taking a franchise and things working out pretty well. And with George Lucas, there'd always been, a concern for many about the writing and all of that, and his oversight of projects, which is a bittersweet thing. I mean, for me, it's like there are things it's kind of like when Stephen King is a part of a screenplay. It's like it's going to be a little campy, and I've come to accept that. Same thing with George Lucas. Um, and when Disney took over and owning Marvel, I'm like, okay, we could have a good revamp. We really could. We could really kind of get out of the old shoe ways and kind of go into new horizons. So I walked into it hopeful. What about you?
Same. I was very hopeful, very cautiously optimistic, I would
Mhm.
say. It's funny the thing you were saying about Lucas. Looking back at the prequels, even folks like Mark Hamill have been on record as saying that George Lucas can tell a phenomenal story. He's just not great at writing dialogue.
Right. Right.
And so that's where you run into most of your hiccups with the prequels, is that the script is not great. The story, there's nothing
Story
wrong
is
with the
great.
story.
Script is
Especially
incredible.
looking back now, and you can I feel like our generation in particular can look back to the prequels now, because we were just entering adulthood when the prequels came out. We experienced the original trilogy as children, and
Right.
so the prequels, he was not aiming those at us. He was aiming those at the next generation coming along. And I think, we can look back at the prequels now, all these years later, and have a better appreciation for them.
Yeah.
um Still, the dialogue is a little off.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like, knowing that Disney made that announcement that moving forward they were going to work on episodes 7, 8, and 9, a new trilogy coming out. That was exciting. We had no idea what that was going to look like at the time. Of course, now here we are with hindsight behind us, like we were able to look back and be like, oh, that's what 7, 8, and 9 looked like.
Right.
But it wasn't just that. It was the excitement of, you've got this gigantic conglomerate with endless funds that are going to be able to come in, and who knows what they're going to be able to
It
do when
was
they
a lot of hope.
expand this universe.
Yeah. A lot of
Um,
hope.
Now, when they went in, they made it clear that what we knew as canon prior to this acquisition was going to go away.
Right.
Like, unless it like all that counted at that point
Were the movies.
were the movies and the Clone Wars TV
Show.
show,
Right.
and
Right.
that's it.
And
Everything
Rebels
else was
Rebels was
gone.
not around yet at this time, right?
Right,
Or it
Rebels
just
hadn't
start
started yet.
'cause
That
that was
started on
Disney that did it.
Disney.
Right. We
So
had
so
no
all of
Jon
those
Favreau
books.
with it. We had no, J.J. Abrams yet. All we
Right.
had, the Timothy Zahn books were no more. I mean, yeah, there's nothing. There was nothing except for the movies and the one show.
So I will ask you this: so do you feel like, looking back at that from this point, do you think that was a mistake to eliminate what came before so that they could move forward unencumbered, without having any kind of previous hold
Yeah.
on what was coming?
No, I don't think it was a mistake. I think that, it's good to have a basis of things that are universally accepted. And I think that the movies obviously being universally accepted, but not everybody has read the books. And so by being able to take what was, in the books before, or even just the idea of a Mara Jade, and having the possibility of pulling from that, but writing it into a new world, which hasn't happened yet, which hopefully someday at some point should and would. Um, but even just having, say, Thrawn be brought in, and then these new books being a part of it, it's a good reset, I think. Now if there had been more universally lauded and accepted books that had been read. I mean, it's like Harry Potter. You can't just say we're going by the movies, on those. The books are true canon. That's what it's meant to be. Canon being foundation, right? So I was okay with it. What about you?
Yeah, I've had this discussion with friends before as well. And I always fall on the side of, yeah, I think Disney did the right thing simply because from a creative standpoint, uh it's easier to be able to give your writers room to create something without having to look back at, gosh, at this point, what, 30 years of extended universe canon type stuff. Now, I will say, that gave them room to dip into what is now considered the legends
Right,
Star Wars timeline or whatever. And so from that, they have been able to introduce characters
right,
that were beloved from that previous canon, like Grand Admiral Thrawn,
right.
bringing him in as a serious contender, uh, as like this really amazing villain for our heroes in various you know areas of the Star Wars universe. We had him showing up on the Rebels animated series, and most recently we've had him show up live action in the Ahsoka series, and his story still isn't finished. Like there's gonna be more,
There's more, right,
and of course there's been Timothy Zahn has come back and he's written more books
right.
um based
And you
on the
gotta you
character.
gotta appreciate the fact that he can write. Like for him to, and I'm not saying he sidestepped his original Thrawn trilogy, but it's almost like that had its place in the culture at that time. And
Mhm.
him coming back and writing this, which leads towards something entirely different, is I think it says a lot about him as a writer, but I'm really glad because there is no, I mean, Thrawn is still true to the Zahn way, even though he's now on the show, he is very much that same character. And the three books that he's done, which I've read, are the new ones, are really, really good. Not the ones that's the Ascendancy. I haven't read the anything beyond hold on, Thrawn uh Treason is one of them. Thrawn, and then there's a second one, maybe Alliances or something like that. And then Treason.
there's there's so there have been basically two book trilogies
Yes,
since
that's
his
right.
reintroduction to the Star Wars universe, and Timothy Zahn has been able to come along, and I mean it's appropriate that Zahn has come back, and because he created this character
Yeah.
back in the 90s when he
He's a
wrote the
great
original
writer.
Thrawn trilogy.
Yeah.
And we
Great
and
writer.
those stories, I feel like even though they don't necessarily count as canon in universe, they are still really great stories, and I think Disney recognizes that. Otherwise, they wouldn't have printed them in new editions under the Legends banner.
Right.
Um,
Well, let me ask
so
you this real quick on the
yeah,
subject, because to me, when I think about Marvel's success, and we're on the outside. I mean, we obviously have, through your friend's sister who works from him, a little connection there, right? But
right.
just where you can kind of get a little bit of insight. But I feel like we could all say that Marvel's success has been largely attributed to Kevin Feige, right? And I mean, I think that's universally accepted. And then now that we get into an era where they have not done very well, and they even now are making fun of themselves through Deadpool and Wolverine, which is awesome. Um, I think I still think he's like that guy. So if we look on the Star Wars side, there are some names here that I think we can trust, right? We can trust in Dave Filoni. We can
Mhm.
trust in John Favreau, I think. And then you can trust in Timothy Zahn. And to me, these three people should really not really anyone else. Like I would say, get these three people in a room and let them chart the course of Star Wars for the next decade and give them whatever they want. To me, that is the wisest way to be able to create something that will will just continue to advance, and not be held back, like as we've talked about, DC is often held back, or even Star Wars has been disjointed with the things it's doing, and Marvel now is too. It's spread thin. So what do you think about that?
I do think there should be somebody at the helm, like a Kevin Feige kind of figure. And honestly, if I were going to give it to one person, it would be Dave Filoni. Who, if you're out there listening and or watching and don't know who Dave Filoni is, he's the guy with the cowboy hat that always shows up at the Star Wars conventions. He's got a goatee. But he is the one who basically created the Clone Wars animated series, Rebels animated series, the Bad Batch animated series. Um, and when it comes to good Star Wars stories that are coming out of these shows that people I think assume are made for kids, and real, I mean,
100%.
Star Wars is for
Yeah,
kids. Let's not beat around the bush. But
right. We
these
grew up with
they're
them.
telling very mature stories,
Right.
and they are telling these stories that are really, I would consider, the best of Star Wars that we've gotten since the Disney acquisition. The movies are touch and go,
Right.
they have their pros, they have their cons. Um, but when it comes to just brilliant storytelling, you gotta watch Rebels. I mean,
Right. You
all
have to.
was it 4 seasons of that show? All 4 seasons are just brilliant. Clone Wars, it I feel like had a rough start at the beginning. The motion picture that came out preceding the show, not great. The only good thing about it is that it's what introduces us to the character of Ahsoka. But
Well, Clone Wars
watching,
also had the discontinuity between the episodes, and they were doing it very serial-like and stuff, and it was not well put together at the beginning. It
right,
eventually got its
it's not
stride.
chronological at all.
Uh, yeah, until you get to later on, and but I don't know who in the world like made that decision. But that was
Yeah,
about the stupidest thing they could have
that
done.
was yeah that wasn't a good idea. But you I would say you don't have to watch the entire Clone War series.
No.
Find a curated list somewhere online that fans have put together that are going to tell you, all right, these are the episodes you need to watch, and they really flesh out the journey, I feel like, for Anakin to turn to the dark side, because it seems very abrupt to go from he is a whiny Padawan in episode 2 to being suddenly he is at the Emperor's beck and call in episode 3. So it's just like there's where is the journey to the dark side for him? The
Yeah.
journey is told through the Clone Wars series, and it's really well done. So guys, if y'all haven't done that, get back in there, watch it. It's on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Again, find that curated list somewhere online. Just do a Google search for it, and they'll tell you which episodes you need to watch to really understand what's going on there. Um, but beyond that, I want to talk about the Disney still expanding the universe through Disney Plus, and we do have more shows, and the rest of them are live action. We've got Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi. More recently, we've had Ahsoka and Andor, um, and then The Acolyte, which
Excellent.
unfortunately has been canceled after one season. But what's been your favorite Disney Plus Star Wars series thus far?
I think I think I would have to say I'm at a tie between Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. And the reason why is largely because of the influence of Rebels and just the amazing um character of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, I think like those two shows kind of show like carry on a story for me that I've deeply wondered how we get to old man Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? I remember seeing like I mean, you're taking someone who just went into hiding who's going to watch the boy, and we kind of leave it just like that. And to go from that to the old man sage, and to just even think about the trauma of your really your best friend, having had such a betrayal and murder spree and just all of that to happen like that, and everything you have known and trusted to believe as true, honorable, and stable is now just gone, and you kind of brush over it, right? To see him in the first episode of Obi-Wan and to what we get at the end of that season, to me is a treasure, and I'm so thankful for it. But Ahsoka in the same way, when we see her kind of go, and then we at the end of Clone Wars, and we see her come back in Rebels, um, you're seeing somebody who has kind of been betrayed as well, in a way, and she has, not just in a way she was, but she has her, what she trusted, was no longer there, and what her progression and character is. And you couldn't have a better person player than Rosario Dawson. So, so anyway, those are my two. I feel like those are great because it really advances the characters. What about you?
I will say Ahsoka is absolutely my favorite character in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Um, which is crazy coming from somebody who grew up with the original trilogy.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but her character arc from from seeing her as a young Padawan and growing up on Clone Wars to being a full-on adult and you know basically a secret leader among the rebels in the Rebel series. Watching that character arc was amazing, and so then seeing her get that live action TV show, um, I won't say that that her series, like the Ahsoka series, has been my favorite. I thought it had its issues. I was more interested in what was going to happen with General Thrawn or Admiral Thrawn than with Ahsoka, to be honest. But I am intrigued to see how that story is going to continue.
yeah.
Um, I would say I think my favorite. Well, okay, The Mandalorian has a special place in my heart, mostly because of Grogu.
Of course.
You get the Baby Yoda, and you could just throw him on a screensaver, and I'll sit there and watch that for 12 hours. I don't care. He's adorable. Um,
Yeah,
but I think my favorite has been Andor. And seeing the dark side of the rebellion.
yeah,
I thought that his character was incredible in Rogue One. And seeing that side of you know, this they're portraying war in a very realistic way, in that there can be good people on both sides of this battle.
right. And
Just
bad people on
because,
both sides.
right. And you look at a guy like Cassian Andor. We're introduced to him at the beginning of Rogue One, and he's getting information from a spy who's going to slow him down, and so he kills this guy
Right,
who's
right,
he's just an innocent person, but because he knows he's going to slow him down and get him caught by the stormtroopers, he
right,
kills him so he can get away. A
right,
means to an end. And those are the kind of decisions that people have to make when you are in a war.
right,
And so he's not, it's not like he's proud of it. He's not, exclaiming, "Hey, I'm such a good guy. I killed this guy so that the greater good could be accomplished."
right,
It's not he I'm sure his soul is like just weighed down with the guilt of these things that he's had to do throughout his career as a spy for the rebels.
right.
And we're seeing some of that in Andor, in his series. The second series or second season is coming soon, I think next year maybe. But I've heard we're supposed to see the return of Orson Krennic and K2SO. What do you think about, so bringing back Orson Krennic for one thing? He was our antagonist in Rogue One. What do you think about bringing him back for the series?
I could watch Ben Mendelsohn in anything. I mean, I just honestly, I think he's incredible. He's such a great bad guy in everything that he does. I mean, and he was a good guy in The Outsiders, the show on the Stephen King adaptation. But I mean, he's just so cool. No, I really like to see more of it. It's funny. Andor brought me in. Rogue One was when it came out. I was like, when I first saw it. Watching it later again, I really liked it the second time more than the first time.
Mhm.
And then watching this show was really great. I love how you see how the difference is between Mon Mothma and she has time for the thoughts and philosophy in her world and and the politics of it all versus, I mean, just looking at what Cassian is involved in his life. It's just very different. It's just
Mhm.
so different between the political atmosphere versus what you're dealing with on the front lines with it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to see it. I am disappointed about the Acolyte not being renewed. Um, I I feel I'm disappointed that fandom was so critical of the show. I kind of took it as kind of a one-off insight that into this side, the dark side, and the gray. So, you know, I'm interested in knowing what's going to happen with the skeleton crew. That looks very exciting. To me, that is the best chance Star Wars has of getting anywhere close to a Harry Potter type feel. Is to be able to get into what kids are encountering, and then kind of grow up in those kids and see the Percy Jackson way, as well. So there's promise there if they do it right, to take it to another generation.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the trailer for that. It kind of looks like it's uh almost like Goonies in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true. That's true.
a
Yeah, yeah.
very kid-centric story. So I think that'll be really interesting to see how they play that out, and what is Jude Law's role in all of that going to be? Is he's playing a Jedi, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, that's what they were saying, but is that what he is? Or, we just don't know. We just don't know anything. And I also am trying to remember when this takes place. I looked it
Yeah, I was
up,
going
but
to
I
ask
can't
that
remember
too.
now. Let
I
me
couldn't
let me
remember
look
if
at that.
the trailer announced when it was taking place, or if that's just been speculation.
I can tell you. When does Skeleton Crew take place? Okay, so 9 ABY. So 9 years after the Battle of Yavin.
So that's after Return of the Jedi too.
Yeah, that's after Return of the Jedi. That's Mandalorian time, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So we're
Mandalorian takes
looking at
place
that.
5 years after, yeah, 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, we're looking at the same kind of time frame as Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka.
So this is the rise of the Empire at this
No, no,
point.
no, no. Fall Empire has fallen.
I mean, sorry, yeah, rise of the New Republic would be
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Right, rise of the New Republic.
Um. So we do have a Mandalorian and Grogu movie coming. Favreau and Filoni shared some of the details at D23. Apparently, it's going to be a blend of what you get from like the Disney Plus series, and they're hoping to mash it up with the epic scale of the Skywalker saga. So I don't know. What do you think about Star Wars returning to the big screen?
For Mandalorian, I think it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I think it's a bad idea. I don't think but we're in a weird time right now, right? Between the big screen and what's being accomplished in series. Yeah, I think it's pretty risky, to try to do something with a show that many have considered to be milk toast.
Milk toast.
I
Wow.
mean, Grogu is wonderful and all. Battlestar Galactica fan over here, love Katie Sackhoff. Don't get me wrong. The girl who plays the other Mandalorian lady that does the armor, she had a place in Supernatural. Of
Hmm.
course, got Pedro Pascal. Awesome. Great. 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 But just forgettable. You know.
But does it really need to be Pedro Pascal? I mean, is
No.
he really just doing the voice? I mean, who's really in the
Yes.
suit when he's got the
Yes.
helmet on?
I mean, who knows? It certainly wasn't James Earl Jones in the Darth Vader suit. But
Absolutely.
it's like to what end? Like at some point there has to be a construction of what's going on in the universe. So that's the problem with Marvel right now is what are we building towards? Now, I understand that now we're building towards the chance to see Dr. Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. Great. You know what I mean? But like nobody knows where we're going. And I think that's a big problem with some shows. You have The Walking Dead and you have the comic book as kind of like your base. You have Harry Potter and you have the books. That's your base. That's your foundation. You have Star Wars and you have the original movies, which again are the base. That's the foundation, the core of building all this stuff off of. And then Marvel, same thing. You have the comic books. So what do you do when you get past that? And I think that's really the problem is for all the testing and focus groups that they're putting together, any of these large entities, I think, are really having a hard time with bringing things into something that people can anticipate. Because here's the thing, like, if you look back on Marvel and you think about like the Infinity Stones sprinkled in and all that along the way, it's not just that they said, hey, let me sprinkle some things, and then we'll have aha moments later. There was a course. So if you were a fan who read the comic books, then you knew what was coming. Or take Game of Thrones, you knew it was coming. And then when they didn't do what was in the comics or they didn't do what was in the book the same way, it was like, boom. And then you'd have people hating it and you have people loving it. And it's just like, still, you're reacting to the core foundation. And we're operating in a time period now where this is all new. And if they're going to create something, they really have to build the universe more, right? Like you have to build it, to be able to make something happen, not have these one shot. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to care about Mandalorian, and having a movie. It's going to be forgettable easily. And Acolyte didn't have traction because it was forgettable easily. It's not building towards anything. If you said we're building towards having a movie about the Knights of the Republic, and then people can tether back to the game. Great. Then you have something that people can build towards. Does that make sense?
Sort of. I wonder about the Acolyte though, as far as like I feel like they could have been building towards something, but they weren't given the chance to get there.
Maybe they didn't do enough to get there. Throwing in Darth Plagueis at the very end wasn't enough. Like that would have been cool. I think everybody would see if you sprinkle in there the idea that we're going to see how Palpatine came to be, and we're going to get that this acolyte is the beginning of showing us Palpatine's rise to becoming Senator Palpatine. You know what? Fans would stay the course. They
Yeah.
would absolutely have stayed the course. But here's what I don't think that they allowed themselves like the commitment to be able to say that's what we're doing.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
the second that it gets, even if it was on the board as a possibility, but even that's stupid. You think about all these shows like Lost or even Walking Dead, you put something on the board with maybe a drawing and a question mark, but you don't plan on fulfilling it if things aren't testing well, then you're going to be making up stuff to tie it off at the very end, and it's going to be bad. So I think like I'm pretty skeptical about anything going on the big screen at the moment. Very pretty skeptical.
Yeah. They need some it's important to know where they're going, but they also need a roadmap for how they're going to get there too.
Yes, very much.
All right. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about some of the other Star Wars news that came out of D23. We're into our pop culture pulse section of our show today. Did you hear about the new Mandalorian element coming to the Millennium Falcon Smugglers ride at or Smugglers Run ride at Disney?
No, what are they going to do?
I think they're just gonna have a thing where they throw in Mandalorian and Grogu so that they show up in the ride. Uh, it's supposed to. I think they're gonna add Din Djarin and Grogu to the interactive ride, so you're gonna be able, I guess, interact with them. Uh, it's supposed to debut around the same time as the movie in 2026.
Okay, so I throw a little on there, right? That's good.
Um, Apparently they announced that there are going to be new Mandalorian inspired skins coming to Fortnite. You're going to see IG-11, Moff Gideon in full armor, and you'll have a Grogu backpack you can put on.
That's cool. That's cool.
Okay, so this one kind of this one actually does excite me. The Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. Have you seen the trailer for that?
No.
This is this looks like it looks crazy, but in the best way possible. So what's going to happen is like it's this Lego story where everything in the Star Wars universe falls apart. The Lego Star Wars universe all falls apart and gets rebuilt, and it's all wrong. So you get Darth Jar Jar Binks, you get a Darth Vader in white armor, you get a bounty hunter C3PO, you get the Dark Millennium Falcon. It's everything we know about Star Wars, but turned completely on its head.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I think
I'm
Mark
looking at it
Hamill is
now.
back. He's voicing Luke in this thing, but apparently he's more of like a chilled out surfer dude.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see how this plays out. And they've created Lego sets to go along with it. There is a black Millennium Falcon set that's coming out that includes minifigures of the white armored Vader and Darth Jar Jar, and it's just bonkers, man.
Wow. I'm looking at these. I'm looking at the pictures of it right now. Yeah, you can see it on Disney Plus's website, but it's yeah, that's a Bounty Hunter C3PO. Ah, oh wow. Oh, and Darth Jar Jar and the Darth Falcon. Oh my gosh. And the Dark Falcon, sorry. Jedi Bob. Oh my gosh, that looks fun. You know what? Maybe that'll just kind of make it lighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
It,
I mean, just something fun that's not going to take itself too seriously.
yeah. Oh, and you have eight Rebel AT-ATs. Wow. Wow. Yeah, that looks cool. I like that. Well,
All
what? Tell
right.
me real quick. Well, and they're
No,
still
go ahead.
doing the Ray movie, right?
As far as I know, they didn't. I don't think anything was really announced at D23. At least nothing
Okay.
new. As far as I know, they're still doing that. I feel like that'd be a big deal if they canceled it.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see what they do with that to carry on the. I mean, I assume she's going to be training Jedi, carrying on from the episode 9 where it left off.
Yeah. I mean, Nerdists had confirmed back in April that they are gonna do a fourth movie. So to
Now,
her.
I hope that they include Finn as part of that because he was supposed to be force sensitive and his character should be trained as a Jedi. Although I don't think the actor who played him is very interested in coming back to the Star Wars universe after the experience he had.
Who's that?
My mind just went blank. The actor that played Finn,
Oh yeah, yeah. Bodega. Yeah,
yeah, John Boyega.
yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't had very many positive things to say
No.
about his experience working on Star Wars and the fandom, really. And
Huh.
honestly, I can't blame him. But
Right.
um, so it'd just be interesting to see if they're able to convince him to come back and be part of that story, or if they just move on without him.
Yeah.
Um, okay, we have covered a lot of ground today, but before we wrap up, we want to step through our recommendation corner. Given our topic, I think it's fitting to recommend something Star Wars related. Do you have anything that you would be interested in, telling our listeners, our viewers to check out as far as Star Wars material goes? That's been, I don't know, even old or recent.
Yeah, I just would reiterate, reading the Thrawn trilogy was really good. So Thrawn Alliances, Thrawn Treason, uh really, really great books. And I think they put you in the mood. And then you can, feel free to jump in. But definitely look online for the essential Clone Wars episodes.
Mhm.
Don't feel like you gotta watch them all, but you could just watch the essentials and then get into Rebels. Everybody should watch Rebels. It's a really great show.
It
And
is.
if you love Rebels, you love Bad Batch even more because you just love Omega. So, it's just a great show.
Omega.
Omega, you know?
Omega. That New Zealand accent.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I would push Star Wars Visions. Have you seen that one?
Is that the one where I saw a younger um Count Dooku? Is that the one where I saw that?
I can't remember. No, no, that was Tales of the Jedi.
Oh,
So
okay.
Star Wars Visions is an anthology series that it's a collection of animated shorts
Oh,
that come from various Japanese animation studios.
oh, nice.
So it's basically Star Wars anime, and there are a bunch of different stories. Now, whether they're canon or not, I don't know, but they are really interesting. There was one that was very much a like a samurai tale that involved lightsabers. It's very interesting.
All
But yeah,
shorts are non-canon. Non-canon.
they are non-canon. Okay, that's what I thought. Um, but they are interesting just to check out and see. This it's like just this unique look at the Star Wars universe from various different animation studios.
Cool.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, folks, that's all the time we have today. Landon, any final thoughts on the Star Wars galaxy before we wrap up?
No, 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 just still love it. Hang on there, fans. I'm sure we'll come around.
You'll figure it out someday.
Yeah.
Uh, well, next time we are going to dive into that other spacefaring franchise. I'm going to try to stump Landon on some Star Trek movie trivia. So, how do you think you'll fare on 20 questions?
I think I will fare well. I expect to get 75 to 80% of them right.
That's not bad. That's a passing grade. All right, folks, you're gonna have to tune in to find out. As always, thanks for listening or viewing, watching the Show. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your fellow geeks and nerds. Until next time, may the force be with you, and have a great whatever it is, wherever you are.
See ya.